Okay, how's that? I see you, Miss Palmer. Testing one, two. I guess I should start all over again. So I asked my brother. I said, Pat, how many funerals have you done? Um, you can hear me now, everybody. I just changed. I just fixed the. Uh, if you can hear me, say yes. If you cannot, say no. Okay, it looked like I see CJ. You said that you can hear me now. Good, good. Oh, how you doing, Margaret? Let me say hi to everybody. Let me get a shout out. Alan, how you doing? Good. So, you mind if I start all over again, please? Since you guys didn't hear me. Okay. Yes. Good. Okay. So, um, I'm yours truly, Gary Graham, and so I was talking to my brother Patrick, and I said Patrick was telling me he did 197 funerals in 3 years, his first 3 years at the DuPont Seventh Day Adventist Church. And Pat and I had a candid conversation. I said, you never had grief counseling, and he said no, and I thought that was a missing piece in our church. So 3 years ago, when I started with grief, started with my own private practice and my consulting, I went to Columbia University, and they have what they call Mia. You know this complicated grief certification. And at my church, my home church is the Ephesus Seventh Day Adventist Church in Harlem, and it's a big church. And I don't want to put out a little business, but one thing I want everybody to know. So, like, right before I married my wife was a secretary at the church, and doing while I was dating her, I used to see all of the funerals that she was doing. So she was responsible for typing the bulletins. I don't know if we have bulletins anymore, and putting the funerals together. So there's 52 weeks of the year. One of my best friends, Pastor Wesley, was the youth pastor at the time, and Elder Roger Wade. So I got to see them doing funerals over and over and over again. And Margaret, when you have all of these disasters around the country, they have these grief counselors come in, and I've never heard of grief counselors in our church or in our denomination. So I took it upon myself, um, when I had a leadership position at my church, to go ahead and implement a grief counseling group. And can I tell you, it was the most um, satisfying thing I've ever done. I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm middle aged now, and God has brought me to a position where I can have a little bit of influence. So, one of the reasons I came here today, and some of the people who wants to be in the group is here today, is that I'm not going to make any shame about it. So, I have the grief counseling group on Mondays at 8. If I go over 10, Mia, I am going to do a West Coast one at 9. CJ and I have talked about that, and then she thought it was a good idea because there's people on the West Coast that does that. And then on Monday afternoons, I have Boys to Men for young boys. Tuesday and Wednesdays, I have Girl Power, and that will be debuting next week. And my favorite, and my personal favorite, some of you have come in, is I now do what I call mental health manna. And so my mom is on here, but it's funny. And I tell mommy that mental health manna is not for Sabbath keepers. Mental health manna is for early risers on Saturday morning, and on Saturday morning, there's a lot of people who do not go to church. So in my Seventh Day Adventist faith, as much as I love the Sabbath, there's a lot of people who sleeps in, and and there's a people who don't sleep in. They still go to work on Saturdays, and they get up early and they do laundry on Saturdays, and that's their cleaning day or their reset day. So I found out by accident the amount of people who comes on. So, Margaret, when Mental Health Manna comes on, I'll have you by yourself or your husband, And then I would ask, what do you do Saturday mornings? And we talk about either if you're a Sabbath keeper or what you do Sabbath mornings. And we kind of tie that into, like we like to say in our industry, mindfulness or spirituality. And people are away from that word. So it's only a half an hour, and we had some great guests on there. But each time before I launch it, I'll let you know that's the overall. But tonight is grief counseling. So there's one thing that's going to happen in all of our lives. Somebody we love is going to pass away, or I'm going to just tell you straight as a counselor, die. So, hi Sherry, how you doing? How you doing, Mia? Margaret, I saw you. CJ, I also saw it. Brian, I see you. Thank you for your support. And there's also other counselors in here that I can refer everybody to. So the whole thing is that I want to introduce every Monday and every 10 weeks, we have grief counseling. So I'm going to tell you what I've learned. I'm one of the lucky ones. My mother and father is still alive, and my brothers are still alive. And I think that when people pass away, there are so many uh, culture wars that we get into, that and there's so many things that we believe that you're not supposed to do that you do, and then we're going to go through that over the 10 weeks. And so what I did, I hired some experts over the introductory phase, the last 10 weeks that we did, and I've decided that I'm going to take the lead, and then I bring people in. So because I'm more a little bit personable, and I still will use my masters and my clinical work to put in there, and I have my let's say I just do my thing, and then I bring in the clinical experts, and it worked out. So it took a little while for me to get it together. So um, it has worked out. Number one, I'm gonna tell you 5 things that I've learned uh, by doing grief counseling. Number one, no matter how long ago somebody has died, there are people still grieving. Blew me away. Uh, I have no problem saying this. Margaret, you probably know my father-in-law, Elder Salmon. He died in 1990 or 1991, and his presence is still here. And at Seventh Day Adventists, we don't talk like that, or we don't talk about visiting their grave. It's like, oh, it's taboo. And then you find out that people who are grieving, all of that is foolishness. All of that is foolishness. So the grieving note goes away. A friend that I became very close to, CJ, her mom and dad passed away, I think 2 or 3 days from each other. Yeah. And no matter how much they honored her dad and loved his mother, her dad was a prominent leader in our church. And I see her at different places. And one of the first places we met was at the gravesite of her mom and dad. The first place we met. Because every time I go to Huntsville, I see my wife's family. And, I just go ahead and visit. So, you know, um, so she has some, and with the passing of the president of Allegheny East Conference, where a wife and husband has passed away, basically simultaneously, it also brought back feelings from before, and we do not process that. My mother's dad, my uh, biological grandfather, uh, uh, Alan Wilson, that's his name, passed away when my mother was 3. And my mother still remembers when the funeral happened. So, with all of this, and some of us are looking for Jesus to come, some of us say that uh, parents are looking down or what have you. I meticulously put together an intimate, confidential support group for people to come talk about the loss of their parents. Number two, I'm gonna tell you something that I've learned also, that I was always afraid. And CJ, I'm gonna use you as a Mia. You lost somebody. I don't want to put your business out there. If you kind of want me to talk about it, it's fine. Uh, I've always was afraid to go and talk about the death of a person that somebody has lost. Like if I go to CJ and said, "Well, you still miss your dad," and I've come to find out that people who lost their family members still embrace the fact that their family members are lost. And then you should see the dialogue inside the support group. Well, my dad used to do this, and my mom used to do this, and the promises that are made, and or the last few weeks before that person has passed. All right, thanks, Mia. So Mia has lost her first husband, pretty dramatic, and then she posted that so and so was the worst day of my life, and she's a counselor. I'm not supposed to be her personal counselor. I'm her friend, you know. But I wonder how many people have said, "Hey, this is happening. What can you do?" She celebrates her birthday. Hey, let's go out for some ice cream. I'll be in Delaware or Philadelphia. Let's hang out. Let's just talk. My dear assistant in the DMV, she lost her father, and one day, 2 days before her father's birthday, she just bust out crying. And so, yeah, yes, Margaret, I know about your dad. Your dad is another prominent person, so you probably hear your dad name over and over again. So this is exactly what this group does. And uh, Margaret, you'll be surprised. You'll say that, and somebody say, "Well, my dad was a big person in the community, and every time I hear his name, sometimes I gotta stop a little bit." So we have to address that. So I think I have the consensus of everybody in the group across the landscape that this is needed. Um, and then at 8 o'clock on Mondays, for the next 10 weeks, we can discuss freely. I am a counselor. Mia will tell you the last thing I want to do is tell your business because I'm blessed. We'll keep it confidential. We're bringing the experts. Um, you have an experienced person like myself and a personality. If you don't like me, I will refer you to somebody else. And if you don't want to be in the group and you want to see me or one of my team or one of my colleagues across the country, I will refer you to there because our mental health is very important. Joel, I remember your dad passing in 2020, and he was one of the first ones. And COVID has accelerated that. And also the way, and I guess Joel, you must be hurting because you did not get your dad's passing was sudden. He was a young man, and also the fact that he's not seeing the great young man that you're turning out to be, your girlfriend, your music, your content that you put on there. But most of all, you did not get to send off your dad um, the way you want to. So I feel you, my brother. And you know how much I love you. In fact, Joel is probably one of the best people. Joel would just text me and just saying, checking in. He checks in with me like my dad has died. So you have a great heart, and I thank you for coming in and giving your 2 cents today. So I don't want to say too long. I got my cue cards here that I made up all by myself. Um, and I put it here. And I want to be as transparent as possible. That is my allure. Everybody, you see my dear wife behind me, somebody who I love very much. Everybody always asks, "Who's that behind me?" That's my dear Nilsa. And that's Nilsa at the age of 3. And the person who took that picture died suddenly. And I mourn, and that kicks up some feelings within me. I just lost my dear uncle. For those who follow Snack Times, my uncle. Um, Sorry to hear that, Gwen. I'm very sorry to hear that, sweetheart. I know your family very well. Um, my uncle has passed. He watches Snacks every day, every Friday. So we lost him too. So with that, I'm hoping for the support where this is. So let me start with that. It is 8 o'clock. You should reach out to me on Facebook, or you should DM me. I have already 6 people who are involved. I can do multiple sessions. I do take insurance. If you don't have insurance, we can get around that. and that's the reason why I have certain people who underwrites uh, certain things. Everybody don't have insurance, and so that's where we go with that. Thank you, Gwen, for saying that. She put it in the chat, so I'm gonna take authority. Gwen's dad passed away, um, died in her arms while she was doing administering CPR. So with that, what I will do is, if Gwen is in the group and we talk, she'll tell her story, and it's okay to tell the story. I'll share with you the other day. Um, had a bright young girl, uh, and she said that she is mourning the loss of her father. Okay, so this is what the group is for. Her father was 52 at the time. Father was born in 1968, and I was born in 1968. She was born June 6th, 2000, and my son was born June 6th, 2001. I had to take. Sorry, Gwen, your brother. I'm sorry. I had to take the case because there's some linear things that goes on that, and then there's other things like um, people have insurances and it only lasts for a year, and how they're going to move on, or what have you, and then it puts some perspective in your uh, life and how you mean to how much you mean to your family, and how are you going to take care of yourself to make sure that you stay alive. So I went through all of the other groups that I'm going to do. I don't have a problem saying this with shameless plugs. I do workshops. I go to people's churches. I go to their school, and I talked about it very prominent, very prominent. I have no problem saying this. So there are 5 stages of grief that we'll go through. We'll go through it generally. There's denial, there's anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So each of the weeks, I will bring somebody in to talk about that after I talk about it on a larger scale. And also, there's a part that nobody talks about with the 5 stages of grief, but there's something that I talk about that sometimes grief comes in waves. So that's where we will go. So I think I covered everything. Um, I do not want to stay on too long. Um, I am very happy. We have about 27 people who are watching tonight. And if there is nothing, I am going to, I don't know if Kay, if you're on a chat on both sides, I'm going to put in my email address so everybody can get in contact with me, and we will start immediately next week at 8 p.m. It will be on Zoom. I will give out the Zoom information. It will be confidential. Um, and if you see there, that is my email address right there. Um, I don't know, Mia or CJ, if you have my Psychology Today address, you could put that in the address. If you go to Psychology Today and you pull up Gary Graham, I am there. If you Google my name, my SEO is pretty hard. You see, Google my name, Gary Graham, therapist, Harlem. That will go in there. You could put that in the chat. So I have about 7 minutes before I sign off. And if you have any questions, you could pop it in the chat and I'll answer right away. I know there's a bunch of people looking. It's more than I expected. So we will top off at 12 people, 8 o'clock every Monday. We'll do grief counseling. And there it is. Thank you so much. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Mia. Um, we will every Monday at 8 o'clock. We'll have the session. I totally transparent. I have about 5 or 6 people That's already signed up. I take all insurances. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you have Aetna, if you have 1199, if you have Cigna, if you have United Health, I do take that. If you outside of that, I do what they call out of network, and I do work on a sliding scale. If you want me to come to your church, uh, Mia, that's a good question. Um, Groups I do on a sliding scale, so I do not take no less than between $50 and $75 a session. But if somebody needs to take less than that, I can take that. That's not a problem. So that's the answer. Anything between $25 and $75, I will take. That's fine. Thank you, Sister Bennett. That's my friend from Maryland. Yes, and thank you for coming in. Your presence in the chat is needed, and thank you so much. So with that, Ms. Fine, if you want to contribute, thank you, Dr. Wesley, for coming in. I mentioned your name earlier about it. Dr. Wesley is the co-lead, but really the lead on our Boys to Men. And next week, Monday, um, we will do our promo. He doesn't know this yet, probably going to get mad at me, but we do our promo for Boys to Men, just like how we do this. He has led out with Boys to Men since March of last year. We have about 8 or 9 boys, and Boys doesn't talk about just about baseball. They talk about anime. We teach them how to make the bed. And Phil also has lost his dad, and so I'm sure he'll pop in and give his certain words. So I have his endorsement to do the guidance counseling. So sometime next week we'll come back and look out. Phil and I will get together, probably on his podcast or what have you, to talk about Boys to Men. Hey, Michael, good to see you too, man. Thank you for popping in. So let me just run this down real quick, and hopefully we'll go down. This is the grief counseling promo. If you're interested in coming to grief counseling, this is a closed group for the next 10 weeks, from February through March. I already told you I'm very experienced, um, and it's in the chat. You could check me out on Psychology Today, or you could check me out on LinkedIn. Have over 20 years of mental health experience, along with um, hospital administration, speaking and touring, all that good stuff. And I'm coming down on the backside of my life, and I have a counseling service, and I also have a consulting service, which is doing very well. Boys to Men. We also have other and we start 8 o'clock every Monday, 9 o'clock for Central and West Coast people. Boys to Men on Mondays, Girl Power on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Men's Group on Thursday, and Mental Health Manna on Saturdays. Notice I did not say Sabbath. The 5 stages of grief will go over: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And no matter how much you lost your loved ones, we will address it. So with that, I have 3 more minutes. I do appreciate the time, the effort. Everything is in the chat. I will put my email in there one more time, so you can get in contact with me. I will start calling people tomorrow and letting them know that they're locked in their spot. There are some people here I know are here to support. I really, really appreciate that. Um, and then I will ask you to make sure that if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will answer you back. I am a busy man. I will be very unapologetic for that. When I was didn't have any work, I prayed to God to have work. Now I have work. Now my issue is to refine, reflect, and put my priorities in order. So this has been a priority. So one more time. Uh, so Gwen, you're gonna have to hit me up on the back end with that. Most likely, I probably do. I'll talk to my biller about that. So you can text me or you can call me after when you get a chance. When you get a chance with that. So let me see one more thing. Let me get my producers calling and see if I'm fine. Yeah, I see the questions on the PPOK. I got that. Yeah. Well, how can a person recognize depression in a loved one? So you're on a whole different topic. I'll entertain you since you, my guy. Three quick things, Mike. If somebody sleeps a lot, or they sleep a lot, and they act out of character, that would be it. So, for instance, you can be in character, go to work, go to church, but uh, they are sleeping all the time, they're not bathing as much, and they fall short of simple goals, and that tapers off. So those are some of the things we can do. So you're talking me to do some seminars. I'm probably going to end up doing that. So all right, Gwen, you can get with me. I am appreciative of everything. Want everybody to have a good night. For all of the people that showed up, this has been a blessing. I am very surprised with how many people have showed up. I will talk to you next week, Monday. Look out for signs and look out for advertisements, and we will see you at grief counseling. Take care of yourself. Make sure you love yourself. Real quick, before I go over, you saw what happened with the young lady with suicide and Regina King's son. Uh, Even if it looks perfect and you want to call your people, give them a shout out. Much love. I will talk to you soon and make sure you hit me up on the other side and I will respond to you as soon as I can. Thank you.